Games that depict the future with a post-apocalyptic theme typically rely on a few similar elements to set up its world. However, I've never really experienced anything like the NIS-developed Void Terrarium before. A world vacant of human life finds hope in a robot who comes across a strange girl. You may start the game to discover more about their relationship, but you'll end up staying for the unique dungeon crawling systems and features. Void Terrarium really takes its time in the opening hour, which is probably the biggest downside of the entire game. You wake up as a robot and make your way through an underground world that has been overrun by fungi. Years prior, deadly spores drove humans into caves where they developed an AI who was designed to keep them safe. However, that same AI would end up being their demise after feuds broke out amongst the last remaining people. Well, it just so happens that that same AI is now one of your only friends, and the two of you have just discovered a strange girl named Toriko, who definitely shouldn't be alive. Set on making up for its past mistakes, the AI teams up with the robot in an effort to keep Toriko safe. That's not an easy thing to do since spores have found their way into the caves, which can be fatal if she comes into contact with them for too long. The gameplay is very much focused on keeping Toriko alive, but the ways that you are taught this make the opening of the game pretty hard to get through. There's just so much exposition given to the robot from the AI, but considering the robot can't talk, it's pretty much the AI speaking the entire time. The animations of the robot also seem to take so long to play out during dialogue, but they are all the same and don't really represent responses. However, after the opening moments of the game and tutorial, you were off to the races with some unique roguelike and dungeon crawling systems mixed with daughter-raising sim features. With such a slow start, I honestly wasn't expecting to enjoy this game as much as I did, and I ended up appreciating how the game held back its features and slowly allowed me access to them over time since they become rather complex. So let's talk about the game loop. Toriko needs your help to survive. Using what is known as the pet nanny, you are able to see her health, hunger level, and whether or not she's pooped in her cage. Yes, this is very much like a Tamagotchi. Your only purpose is to keep her alive, but this requires you to enter dungeons and collect items. Some items unlock new buildable structures, while others can be converted into resources. Players then use resources to craft objects for the terrarium, which also benefit the robot's base stats. As a roguelike dungeon crawler, you can expect to find some recognizable systems, which are far too straightforward in the opening moments of the game. It comes across like any other dungeon crawler at first, but then you start to notice how this game differs. Typically, death will cause you to lose everything that you've gathered in the dungeon and start over from scratch. However, in Void Terrarium, this is somewhat true, but death isn't as consequential. The items you've collected are still turned into resources and the blueprints are also kept. This roguelike system means that each time you enter the dungeon, even if you die on the first floor, you'll still progress the game. Milestones are marked by items created or when something deadly is affecting Toriko. Often I would be in a dungeon when an alert would go off that Toriko was close to dying. The game uses this as a way to introduce new items and progress the overall narrative. Dungeon exploring is easy to navigate as the game will tell you which special items can be found in any dungeon. Fighting these items forces you to focus on clearing each of the floors instead of just rushing your way to the exit. Killing enemies gains levels, which provides you 2 random stats or abilities of your choice. Furthermore, items can be equipped that modify your robot with special passive abilities like extra damage to robots or the ability to heal when attacked. Given that all these items will be converted into materials, you'll always have a different loadout by the end of each run, making each time you enter a new experience. Items and equipment can also harm your robot depending on the contamination level. Other things you'll have to pay attention to is your battery level that drains over time and your health. While health recovers, batteries are needed to recharge. Balancing all these items becomes challenging the deeper you get into the dungeon because you'll run out of space. Luckily, almost everything about your robot can be upgraded for good even if your level is reset each time you enter a dungeon. Over time, your item slots will become greater, you'll gain more health, and skills can be permanent. All of this is earned through crafting new materials using resources, which just makes for a satisfying and approachable experience. The late game offerings see an increase in difficult dungeons and enemies, but your progress can be visualized with just how complex and intricate your terrarium becomes. The relationship between the robot and Toriko is wholesome and mysterious since they don't really share any dialogue between each other. This parallels the underlying themes of the AI and the extinction of the human race. Void Terrarium is a roguelike dungeon crawler that doesn't punish the player after a death. Instead, you are rewarded with progression, which makes it easy to want to jump back in and try again. Each item crafted is just another milestone as the fruits of your labor are displayed in your terrarium. Even with a slow and almost confusing beginning, the game really shapes into one of the most accessible roguelikes that I have ever played. Noisy Pixel is giving Void Terrarium an 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.